Hello, I'm going to show you a basic setup of software environment, the development environment. Because I'm behind the grid firewall, so my network might be slow and sometimes it gets interrupted. Okay, let's start. This is to set up a software project. It's going to use Python plus nodejs. So it deals two kinds of programming language, Python and JavaScript. It's going to have a web server, database, frontend, and backend. It means we're going to do all the things, including we get data, we process data, we set up front-end going to have HTML, of course, CSS, and JavaScript for UI, and backend, the server things, the data things. And I'm going to show you the scaffolding. It means what kind of tools we're going to use. And the set of tools is not necessarily the best choice. So tell me what's good, what's not so good, if you know this kind of project. First, let's go to GitHub. It's going to be an open source software project. It's not have too much purpose. Basically, at the beginning, we're doing some knowledge sharing things. And let's go to GitHub and see what's GitHub. And GitHub is software. Git is a wonderful software application. It's invented by the Linux, one of Linux creator, Linus, and it's used to store software codes, and especially open source software is going to put somewhere with support Git repository storage. GitHub is one example. This is its QR code, so you can scan it and access and go to GitHub. You can see it has 3 million organization, and how many repositories it has, you cannot believe it. It's 100 million repositories. Not necessarily each one of among these 100 million open source are wonderful and may make people have interest to follow, but they have enough. It means most knowledge, most application, you can find a kind of repository and open source project start in GitHub, and it's wonderful. Okay, this is GitHub, and how can we use it? We have our own GitHub setup. Let's go to our own GitHub. Okay, this is our own GitHub. It's named WUHE. I put this repository on my account. It's for convenience purpose. It's not necessary to put on my GitHub account, but currently just as a start point, because in our group not everyone know how to use GitHub. Let me show you how to use GitHub. It's very simple. Okay, I'm using Linux. I'm going to tell you what's Linux a minute later. Let's show you how to use GitHub. For example, the first way you use GitHub is you can go to this URL and have a look of what the GitHub is, what the GitHub repository is. You can see we have named our project as WUHE. WUHE means something, not it's a good name because it's very short and it can easily be pronounced. It's set up at February, so it's about 2 months ago, and we set it up as open source project, as you know, for knowledge sharing, for tutorial, and for this kind of things, but the purpose, if we can do something useful, is going to be also knowledge sharing, and meet some friends and learn some new kind of learn some new things. So not too much purpose. And then you can copy or clone with the Git. We always clone our project. Okay, let's clone our own project. I'm going to show you Git clone and the repository's address, and you get it. It's going to be cloned to your local computer. You can see the clone finished, so you get all the code. I'm going to show you. For example, we have front to store some code or files for front end, and we have tutorial to start some tutorial things. For example, after a few minutes, if we have time, I'm going to show you how to set up a babel configuration file and webpack configuration file, and build a web page with the simple web server. Okay, let's see the cloned local repository. It's exactly as the online one. So GitHub makes things very easy to cooperating as a programmer. We can clone, we can branch, I just show how to clone. You can get the information of Git by man Git. And let's go to the local, just clone the local version. It's here, and you can see we have doc, we have front, we have tilde just as the online version. So it's a platform. GitHub is a platform that supporting Git repository, and if we start our open source project on GitHub, it's totally free and it's welcomed. Okay, this is GitHub, and you'll get a lot Git commands, literally hundreds, even if not thousands. Git pull, if for example we are currently at the local WUHE directory, and if we want to pull, if someone submit their new editing we want to pull, we can submit git pull command, and it show us already up to date because it's a freshly cloned repository, so it's already updated. Okay, the second one, I want to show you what kind of operating system I'm using. It's Linux. It's for save you from confusion. Because if you are using Windows, Microsoft Windows, or other kind of operating system, you might be confused why I submit or typing this kind of command. But basically, all kind of operating system is going to support the tools we choose and we're using, but with a little bit of difference. My operating system I'm going to show you, it's Linux. The distribution is Ubuntu. Let me show you. RSB should be RSB release. Let me check. With the Linux system, list means list the content of the files, and AR means another format. I won't find the RSB things. Okay, RSB release. Let me show you. With this one, I can show you my operating system's name and version. You can see I'm using Ubuntu. The distribution release version is 19 and Ubuntu 19. So, but basically, if you are using version of 1820, it's going to be same. It's going to be same. But if you are using an old version of Ubuntu, for example, version 8, one digital, version 8, or even version 12, maybe we have a little bit difference. For example, if I'm going to install software, I'm going to use apt get, but with the new version, more and more software is going to be used with snap. Okay, this kind of small difference is from the version number. Okay, the next topic we're going to tell is the Linux system. You are going to use shell. What shell we're using? Of course, with the Ubuntu we're using bash. Bash, the version of the bash is not changing very often. Currently I'm using version, you can see it's 5.0. It's version 5. Okay, I'm going to get a big terminal. This is this is console. This is console. Console is another kind of terminal with I zoomed in the font so we can see more clearly, more easily, because the font size is improved. Okay, after you know what kind of operating system I'm using, you're going to understand why I'm using this kind of commands. Okay, let's go to the programming language. The first is Python. We use Python to set up some weightlifting things because Python is multi-purpose. Python can be used for multi-purpose. It has the philosophy of battery included. It means if you get Python, you get all these kind of tools. Let me show you an example. Which Python version, which Python we're using. With my operating system, I can ask it which Python. It's going to show me it's USB Python. It's system-wide Python. And my Python's version, I can ask him, tell me the version. The version is, as you can see, it's Python 3. Python 3 get different from Python 2. Python 2 is also still used very often, and Python 3 is a big improvement. It has some compatibility issues with Python 2, but you have 2 to 3 converter, and but basically we're going to do Python 3 because it's the main stream is going to transfer from Python 2 to Python 3. Let me show you what Python, if we want to have this being called the repo, it's kind of entered the Python interpreter. Let me show you. 1 plus 1 equals 1 equals what? Equals 2. 1 plus 1 equals 2. They should always be true. And what's true? Okay, 1 equals 1 should 1 equals 1. This is a logical expression. 1 equals 1. This is the common sense expression, but it's not going to happen in Python because 1 is a number. Number cannot be assigned with another number. Okay, but this is a logical expression, so it's true. And 1 equals 2 is going to be false. It's always this way. And we have strings that, for example, string var equals, this is a string. Okay, let's print it prints us the content of the string. Okay, this is Python. We're not going to talk too much about Python. And we use Python. What purpose we use Python? Because Python is very good for server-side programming. Also, it's very good for multi-purpose, for all kind of things. But we know that Python is slow. It's 100 times slower than C++, even Java. But it's easy to use. It's easy to use, and it's easy to learn. This is why we are going to use Python. We are going to use Python for miscellaneous tasks during our software development. Okay, the next thing we are going to talk about is about Node.js. What's Node.js? Let me show you the website. I suppose I already show you the QR code of our GitHub repository. Let me show it again. This is the QR code, so you can scan it and go to our project repository. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about Node.js. What's Node.js? I should have a Node.js. Their website is nodejs.org. I show you the QR code. You can go to their website to find more information about Node.js. Node.js is wonderful. Node.js at first it used the non-blocking aspect of the JavaScript, because JavaScript as Python, it's widespread programming language, but it has its drawbacks. It's not so well designed for, especially for big projects, for big things such as server-side programming. It's supposed to come with the browser. Let me show you how to get JavaScript with your browser. You can see we're using Chrome. Also, we can get it from Firefox. Okay, JavaScript. I tell it show me what's 1 plus 1 equals 2, what's 2 plus 2 equals 4. Okay, wonderful. And give me a JavaScript screen. We can see var string of GS equals, we're using Node.js, so we're using JavaScript. Okay, then console log equals Python's print console log, because with the browser, if you want, you cannot print things to the web page user or clients are watching or are visiting. So you can, if you want to log something out, you need console log it to console. Okay, log a string of GS is going to log us. If we alert supposed to pop up a window and alert the message string of GS. Okay, you can see it gave us the alert window and tell us we're using Node.js, so we're using JavaScript. Okay, it's correct, absolutely. Okay, after Node.js. Node.js is server-side JavaScript. It's different from the client-side JavaScript. The programming language is very close, with a little bit small differences, but basically they are JavaScript. Okay, and Node.js has its own packaging system. It's npm and NVM. What's NVM? NVM is a virtual machine. It's Node Virtual virtual environment management. It means, let me show you. NVM I already installed. If you want to install it, I can tell you in next tutorial. I'll come to my English corner to find out how to install and use NVM. It gives you very easy approach to install and manage your Node.js version, and you can manage the package system for the Node.js. I want to show you. Where is NVM. Online NVM repository, GitHub NVM. Let me give it another keyword. Okay, you can see this is NVM. It tells you what's NVM is Node version manager. This is the QR. This is going to be the QR code of the NVM's GitHub repository. Okay, you can visit NVM and learn NVM here. Okay. Sorry. After NVM, let's see what's next. Let's talk about JavaScript itself. Node.js is a version of JavaScript. And what's JavaScript? If you want to learn JavaScript as programming language, of course you have browsers. Let's show you. This is Firefox. And the last one we have console opened is Chromium. With Firefox, I'm also going to show all the browsers give you a console of JavaScript. You can use JavaScript after open the console. It's very easy with the hotkey on my computer. With the hotkey F12, you can open the console and close the console. And this is JavaScript. It has document. Okay, what's document? Document is HTML document. It's DOM object. It's basically the root of our web page document. It's an object, JavaScript object. And learn JavaScript is very easy because if you have a browser, you already have runnable JavaScript virtual machine. This is JavaScript, and JavaScript is widespread programming language client-side for UI and bound tightly with the HTML and CSS and user interface things, graphical things. It is very powerful, and it's easy to learn language, but not very easy to it's very confusing because this JavaScript as language, it has a lot issues with the compatibility. For example, Chrome, all the browser have a little bit different JavaScript support. Chrome is a little bit different from Firefox. Also, if you're using browser from Microsoft, you get IE or Edge as browser. They are a little bit different, but basically we use Chrome or Firefox. They are a little bit compatible with the worldwide global standard. Okay, 1 + 1, 2 + 2. This is JavaScript, and you can learn it with your browser. Okay, after JavaScript has a lot of tools come with it. Basically, we have different versions of JavaScript. ES6, what's ES6? ES6 means from the year of 2015. People start to do more jobs, more tasks, push more tasks about standardize the language, and the result is ES6. It's also been called ECMAScript 2015, if I remember it correct, 15 or 16. Then, at first, because JavaScript is supposed to be a little bit of simple, runnable code pushed to the client side, it's runnable with the browser. But later, when JavaScript improved and get spread out widely, people start to want to have module system with the JavaScript. So you get AMD, UMD, and CommonJS as modules. And Node.js have its own module system. It's very close to CommonJS, but without this different kind of implementation, as programmer, as developer, they get headache, and they are going to learn the difference and how to use maybe more than one kind of module system. But ES6 also come with its own module system, new standard, and it's use import and export. But Node.js use require in history. And let's talk about the Babel browserify. What's this? What's Babel and browserify? Let's show the Babel browserify. Babel browserify. It means it comes this way. At first, when people start to use Node.js and NPM, people find it's wonderful that JavaScript can be the non-blocking feature of JavaScript can be used very well for server-side programming. And then people set up Node.js and NPM. You can see Node.js get very popular. NPM get maybe millions package with the NPM, come with NPM. Then it's very useful. So people start to want to have Node.js code runnable with the traditional JavaScript running platform is browser. So people gives browserify, make Node.js code runnable inside browser. It's browserify. And Babel, you know that Chrome, Firefox, IE, and browser, war of browser. After war of browser, programmer get nightmare. They need to think about all the difference between those browsers and between those big companies, and Babel come to help. It can transpile JavaScript code to a compatible version of JavaScript code. So Babel is transpiler. And what's webpack and grunt? I'm going to show you a Babel configuration file and webpack. Webpack is a bundler. It means if we are developing a project include JavaScript, then we are going to use Babel browserify, and we are going to choose some module system, and things very easily, very quickly become complex. And we need to bundle all those pieces of tools together, and all the files and input, output, these kind of things. Webpack is a bundler system. In the history, people only have choice of grunt and gulp, and some very smart guys they find out the advantage of those old bundle system as grunt and gulp, and improved it. The result is Webpack. You have Webpack is not only absolutely not the only one of the bundler system, but it's going to be one of the most popular. So we choose it as our bundler system. I'm going to show you what's Webpack editor. The last piece of topic. we're going to tell editor. I'm using Vim. I'm using Vim. Now Vim help. This is Vim. Vim is wonderful, but all kind of editor is usable. Vim, Emac, Gedit on my operating system. If I'm using Gino desktop is going to come with Gedit. If I'm going to use KDE desktop, I'm going to have Kit. And beside it, Vim is very easy to be installed. For example, you can get Vim with one command, sudo apt install Vim, and you get everything of Vim. Okay, let me show you the number of my Vim. It should be version 7. Okay, version 7. I remember. Oh, version 8. Vim means VI improved. It's a famous editor. It's invented and created by very smart programmer engineers. Okay, this is editor. Why we haven't chosen IDE for our project? IDE means integrated developing environment. It's good. It's wonderful. But with IDE you get limited because you have to follow one IDE for everything. We have open source IDEs. It's Eclipse. It's as long as I know, Eclipse is the most popular open source IDE. But at the beginning, we're not going to use Eclipse very often. Well, I'm going to stay with Vim, and I believe you can use all kind of those editors and IDEs. It's depend on your own choice. And okay, let's go to the local repository I just cloned. Not here. It should be in with virtual machine. Okay. Local repository of WUHE. Let's go to the TOT subdirectory and babel. Here we get some code and files to demonstrate how to set up babel and webpack. Let's see what's webpack. The bundler configuration. You can see it's the file, the configuration file itself is a JavaScript file. It's basically a regular JavaScript file. So people can use JavaScript to configure a JavaScript bundler system. It's advantage of webpack, one of advantage. And you can see it's set up the project, how to bundle the project. It has mode. Development is still in development mode. It's entry point. You give it an entry point, and it's going to output all the results. And it's using modules with the rules and this kind of things. It's a kind of webpack configuration file. And let's see if we have babel configuration. Babel configure JSON babel with the babel, because babel need to transpile the source code of JavaScript to target of JavaScript, and it has presets. We are using babel env as basic preset. Is target. It target Firefox, Chrome, Safari, and Edge with version and okay. This is the babel configuration file. With this, I'm going to show you npx. Okay, we have npx installed here. npx webpack. It's going to fail because we didn't install all the dependents. I'm going to show you how to install all the dependencies later. Okay, let's stop the first tutorial. Thank you.